Okay, so today we're going to talk about unit conversion. And the first one we're going to start off with is feet to inches. And the main goal is I'm going to try to show you a consistent way to do all of these unit conversions, which will really help you in a lot of future science classes. So if I'm going to take 250 feet to inches, let's set up this little chart. And go, okay, I got 250 feet. Whoops. 50. And I would like to go to inches. So I'm going to put the unit that I would like to go to on the top with it. Now what happens generally is you go, okay, how many inches are in a foot? And so I go in 1 foot, there's 12 inches. What you do at this point to figure out your final answer is you go, okay, these units are going to cancel because they're across from each other, and I am just left with inches, and now I can just multiply the top and figure out what answer that would be. So that would be 3,000 inches. So 250 feet is 3,000 inches. Let's look at another example. Now we're going to look at a little bit of a harder one. This is going from 1,500 centimeters to a kilometer. Now, what you want to do again is you want to make your chart. And I know for the first example, the chart's a little bit silly because it's only one step. But for more steps, it's a lot more helpful. So now we have 1,500 centimeters. And I would like to go to kilometers. Here's the problem. I don't know how many centimeters are in a kilometer. So I actually can't use kilometers, but I do know how many centimeters there are in a meter. There's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Well, again, the centimeters would cancel, but now I don't have my answer right because this is a meter and that's a kilometer. So I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to go, okay, I'd like to get to kilometers. So I go, how many meters are in a kilometer? Well, there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So again, the meters would cancel, and I'd be left with the km, or the unit that I would like. So at this point, again, you multiply the top, and we multiply the bottoms, and that's going to help me figure out my unit. So I would have 1,500 over, well, 100 times 1,000 should give me 100,000. And this is kms. And then we would just do that and see what decimal we get. So 1,500 divided by 100,000. So we would get 0.015 kms. This will work always for some of the single conversions. Now, unfortunately, they don't stay as easy as single conversions, so let's do a couple double conversions. Okay, so now the little bit of a trickier one. I want to go from miles per hour to feet per second. So, here's what it means when they say miles per hour. They really mean that it's miles divided by hours. So I have 10 miles divided by a single hour. And that's really what miles per hour means. And our goal would be for this new unit to be feet and this new unit to be seconds. So we can do that, but we have to do it in a couple steps. So step number 1 is get this top part to feet. So I go, okay, I know that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Again, the miles would cancel, and I have the unit that I wanted on top, which is feet. Now I'm going to extend this chart, and I would like this to go to seconds. Well, the issue is I don't know how many seconds there are in an hour, but I do know how many minutes there are in an hour. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Again, the hours would cancel, but my unit now still isn't right, so I got to go a little bit further. And instead of this being minutes on the bottom, I'd like this to be seconds. Well, I know that in 1 minute, there's 60 seconds. Again, these things would cancel, which is nice. And I can multiply the tops. And I can multiply the bottoms. And because we have seconds down here, which is the only thing that hasn't canceled, and feet up here, which is the only thing that hasn't canceled, we do have the correct units. So this would be 10 times 5280, which gives me 52800. And then we had on the bottom, well, 1 times 1 is 1. And 60 times 60, which is 3,600. And this is feet over seconds. Well, now we should divide these things and see what number that really becomes. So that would be 52800 divided by 3600. About 15. So we'll just round it to 15. So we get this to be 15 feet per second. Okay. So again, that's how we convert from miles per hour to feet per second. I'll do one more example so you can kind of get a little bit better of an idea of this. Okay, so in this last example, we're going from inches per second to miles per hour. So again, we're going to start the chart the same way. We're going to say we have 300 inches over 1 second. And we would like to get these inches to miles and these seconds to hours. Well, again, we have some problems. I do not know how many inches there are in a mile, so we're going to have to go to feet first. And I know that in 1 foot, there's 12 inches. Again, these inches would cancel, but I don't have the right unit yet, because that's in feet. So we're going to change it, and we're going to say miles. Well, I do know this one now. I know there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So the feet would have canceled. Now I have the right unit on top because I have miles. Now we need to put seconds and we need to make it into hours. Again, I don't know how many seconds there are in an hour, but I know how many minutes there are. In 1 minute, there's 60 seconds. And then we can go to hours and we can go in 60 minutes. There's 1 hour. So now we know that the seconds canceled, the minutes canceled, so I'm left with an hour on the bottom. So we should be good. You just take the top, multiply it. That's a big number. I'm going to double check. Yep, so 1,000,000. Okay, so now we're going to multiply the bottom. Don't remember the last couple of numbers. 360. Okay, and that's, again, because the only things left is miles per hour. And now we'll divide those two things and kind of see what we get. So we'll take that, divide 63360. And as you can see, that's about 17. So 17 miles per hour. That's how you do the unit conversions. Really make sure that you keep this kind of consistent pattern, because if you don't keep this consistent pattern that we have throughout here, you start to lose units. Like in the first example I gave, you can easily probably convert feet to inches without doing this chart. But the more difficult the problem gets, the more difficult or the more time consuming it is for doing it without this kind of chart. And so I really think this chart system would really help you in future classes.